You can't keep letting him in, Harry.
You know who has found Gregorovich?
The One-Maker.
But he wants something that Gregorovich used to have. I don't know what, but he wants it desperately. I mean, it's as if his life depends on it.
Hello and welcome to Harry Potter, the official film podcast, as we continue our look back at the series, one film at a time. I'm Rhianna Dhillon, lifelong Harry Potter superfan, film critic, broadcaster, and I did not keep my hands off the dirigible plums and paid the price. We're making our way through the entire series, and you can watch every film along with us on HBO Max. Today, we're on to the second half of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. By my side again as we continue on to the conclusion of the seventh film, the Xenophilius to my Luna. It's the LA Times film critic, Amy Nicholson. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
Thank you for coming back.
I love getting deathly with you.
I love getting deathly with you also. I realised I forgot to ask you what your Patronus is.
Oh, I'm actually glad I'm talking to you about this because I feel like you're the expert and you can help me make sense of it.
Okay, great. I'll see what I can do.
Mine is a wild boar, and I'm not sure it fits. I'm trying to make it fit.
That's an incredibly unusual one. I've never heard that before. What was the description around wild boar? Can you remember?
Aggressive. I was like, oh my goodness. I guess I am.
I sort of feel like your Patronus is almost like your id, like you're sort of maybe like more like your hidden side, or maybe a bit that doesn't really get to come out very often, but it comes out in times of need. And so, yeah, I feel like you have wild boar in you, sure.
I'll take it. I was definitely expecting a cool little crow, and I was like, oh man, all right.
I really like it when your Patronus completely surprises you, because like mine's a cat. I like a calico cat, and I love that. I love that for me. But I kind of am jealous about people that have really unusual ones.
I would like your cat to ride on my boar and then just gallivant.
We would be cool together as Patronuses. So we last saw Harry, Ron and Hermione apparate out of the Ministry with the locket Horcrux and crash land in the forest alone, on the run and out of options. Also, Ron got splinched. The trio has the Horcrux, but no idea how to destroy it. They take turns trying every single destruction spell in the book, all of them useless, until Harry finally gives up and hangs it around his own neck for safekeeping. Almost immediately, there's a shift. This necklace has got some really nasty energy, and it's rubbing off on whoever wears it. Fear and doubt grow as they hide out waiting for Ron's wounds to heal. Harry passes time by staring into his broken bit of mirror, searching for something on the other side. Now, I think what the films bring that obviously the books can't is the sound design, especially of the Horcruxes.
Yeah, they make it sound alive.
Yes.
Right? Because you could imagine them choosing many different sounds. Mm-hmm. Evil, echo, hollowy, but no, they choose like scrabbly, like the sound of something clawing on the inside trying to get out.
That's horrible.
It's awful. I mean, what are you picturing? I'm picturing like an evil spider. I'm picturing things with claws.
Yeah, claws.
Yeah.
But even like a siren, because it's something that has to be, there is obviously something that's still slightly appealing about these things. Ginny Weasley wanted the diary. People are collecting these. Umbridge wants the locket. The diadem is something that has been like hankered after for generations. So I think a siren is, there is like the siren call and then the really horrendous other side to them.
I think that's exactly it.
And I think that is Voldemort all over. There, he has to have some sort of pull, right? There's also such a line in the sand between the trio before this kind of escape from the Ministry and after, just in the way that they look. And we've never seen them look so broken and torn apart. So tell us about the makeup design for these characters.
Yeah, haggard.
Haggard is the word.
The dark circles underneath Ron's eyes.
Yeah.
The fact that they're wearing clothes that are all drab brown. They're in outfits that you would never wear on purpose. Like, they look like they have had no time to think about what to do except just continue on, survive. This is a big thing for me as a film critic, because one of the number one complaints I have about films where characters go on the run is when they look great.
Perfect.
Especially hair. Yes. If people's hair is nice in an on-the-run flick, I completely lose trust in the filmmaking, because that's not real. You just know on a deep level, even if you're not consciously thinking hair, you know that it's wrong. You know that the movie's lying to you in a certain extent. So when both like the actresses, the actors, and the director are willing to make their leads look horrible, I feel great comfort in that.
Yeah. Through the locket, Harry is pulled into Voldemort's mind into a wand maker's shop where he watches the owner, Grigorovich, being interrogated about the theft of a wand, the Elder Wand. Harry tells Hermione what he's seen, but tension among the trio is rising fast and she brushes him off. Ron, still recovering, clings onto the radio, listening to the growing list of the dead. Harry snaps, Hermione steps in and makes them rotate the Horcrux. No one is immune to its evil energy and the Snatchers are growing nearer. I think it is really interesting that Hermione notices the nastiness before anyone else. Again, she's like, why are you talking? You would never talk to me like that.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting way of kind of literalizing the fact that they have to share this burden of a horrible, unpleasant thing, right? Like they're sharing the stress, but with the Horcrux, they're taking turns sharing the stress and having it bring out the negativity that they're feeling.
So it's time for the conclusion of this film. Are you ready to continue the quest?
Indeed, let's go.
Snatchers. Good to know your enchantments work.
You could smell it. My perfume. I told you. Ron isn't strong enough to apparate.
Well, then we'll go on foot.
That night, they hear over the radio that Snape has been installed as headmaster of Hogwarts. And just beyond their protective enchantments, Snatchers pass through, close enough to smell Hermione's perfume, but unable to see them. They realise they can't stay in one place for too long. Ron is still too injured to apparate, so they have to go on foot. They wend their way across the country, past destroyed caravan parks, across the Severn Bridge, into Wales, then north along rivers and hills, always moving. The radio drones along with updates in the background, and Ron takes on the burden of wearing the Horcrux, and it wears him down, bit by bit, as he grows colder to his friends. This whole travelling montage is the most that we kind of ever see, I think, of the UK in all of the films. They are going pretty much all over. So tell us about how the UK looks on film in the Deathly Hallows.
I mean, it looks epic. It looks raw.
Yeah.
It looks desolate.
It does, doesn't
Those
it?
would be the three words I would pick.
It's so, what is kind of brought out in the cinematography that does make it feel so, I know the UK has got a reputation of being a bit chilly, but like this is kind of cold on another level.
Yeah, I mean, the color palette that they're choosing, these blues, these grays, you get this sense of a world that's almost hollowed out. Here, with just our trio being only the people that we're seeing alive, hearing the names of people who are gone.
Yeah.
You feel the absence, I think. Like,
Yes.
that's interesting. You feel the absence of life.
You said about the radio, kind of like we're hearing the names of the dead. How does that sound design? Because it feels like, you know, for me, radio kind of signifies chatter and comfort, and I always have it on as like a companion in the background. But how is it actually kind of more isolating?
Every single person that you're hearing is a person who's gone. You know, it's almost like a bell ringing midnight.
Oh, like a tall, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the kind of calmness of it, the patter of it, the steadiness. I think like it's a
Yeah.
drum beat, almost like a martial drum beat.
God, I'd never thought about that before.
I mean, I find it really heartbreaking. You know, I feel like we were talking last episode about just really internalizing the idea that this war is so much bigger than Harry. And here, I love how David Yates is using the absence of people, but the presence of names to almost make you imagine how much of this world we've never even seen, met, known. We don't know these people.
Yeah.
You know, like to be robbed of people we never got to meet is an unusual kind of mourning.
It's very powerful. And I think maybe on first watch, because we're so used to action in Harry Potter, that we maybe miss it a little bit. But why is it important that we don't, that this isn't so action filled, that we do have this time to really sort of reflect on what is happening, what has happened and what's about to happen?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you are immediately running from one battle scene to another battle scene, we're not getting to see our characters even wonder if they have the strength in them to continue. Like when you give people space to exhale between fights, you realize how much strength it means to go back into the fight, because you could kind of hide and camp forever. Honestly, you have to choose to engage. I mean, I feel like this whole sequence, there's a confident level of withholding that I find really unusual in a Hollywood blockbuster that usually wants to show, wow, feel this, do this, imagine this.
Yeah.
And here, it's just so inward.
I love your takes. One evening in the tent, Hermione has a breakthrough. The sword of Gryffindor only takes in what makes it stronger, like basilisk venom, which can destroy Horcruxes. When Harry stabbed the sword through the basilisk in the Chamber of Secrets all those years ago, he imbued the sword with Horcrux killing juice. Now they just need to get their hands on the sword that Dumbledore had already tried to bequeath to Harry. Harry and Hermione get very excited over this revelation, but it's instantly snuffed out as Ron, driven by the evil energy of the locket, and maybe something else, plunges the tent into darkness with the Deluminator, and tension finally boils over. In the end, Ron walks out, leaving his best friends alone in the wilderness. This is a betrayal that I think a lot of people really struggle to get over.
Yeah, I mean, one question I sort of have for you is there any part of Ron's nightmare of kind of hearing the sense that he's the worthless one of the trio that feels like, honestly, it's built on a grain of truth?
Yeah.
Right? And that, I think, is what part of makes it so painful.
I think there is an element of this like sort of inferiority complex, which we've seen kind of come to the fore. We saw it in Goblet of Fire. It's a sense of him never having the spotlight. And also there is this jealousy that now that he feels so deeply for Hermione, he's now seeing that actually maybe Hermione and Harry have more in common than he and Hermione do. So I think there's a jealousy, there's the inferiority complex, and it's just being pushed to the nth degree by the locket.
Yeah, and I think you have to empathize with him in that position.
What do you think about Rupert Grint's performance as well? Because we see him as like this incredible comedic presence all the way through the series, and then this real kind of sharp, almost overnight snap into like snarling, grouchy. I mean, the physicality of him as well. What are some of the choices that he uses to make that actually kind of feel really believable?
I think when you look in his eyes in this film, you see exhaustion.
Yeah.
Right? Because they are all sharing this. They're all sharing this, no matter what. And I feel like to allow yourself to go from the person who is always making people laugh, that's a weight, honestly, to be the comic relief in a film like this.
Yeah.
You know, be like, I'm the dopey fun one.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up. We're going to have a little giggle. The giggle might even be on me at my expense. And you have to let that go. Honestly, for Rupert Grint as an actor, it almost makes you think about the confidence it has to take to enter the scene knowing you can't even use your usual trick. You can't be the person that everybody likes because you make them laugh. You have to be the person everybody gets mad at. That's a complete reversal for him.
And so the trio is down to a duo. Hermione is devastated, but they do keep going, landing on a far-flung cliff, setting up yet another fragile camp, one that Ron won't be able to find, even if he changes his mind. One evening, a song plays on the radio. Harry pulls the Horcrux from around Hermione's neck, and the two friends dance. For the first time in months, they get to just be. The next morning, Harry fiddles with the snitch, remembering his first encounter with it, and as he touches it to his lips, it reveals its message: I open at the close. At the same time, Hermione identifies a strange symbol that we've all since become very familiar with in the Tales of Beedle the Bard. Harry convinces Hermione to go to Godric's Hollow to investigate further. Hermione suspects a trap, but agrees to go anyway. Distant carols drift through the village as they arrive on Christmas Eve, which means they've been in hiding for 5 months. Harry visits his parents' graves in a beautifully touching moment, and Hermione finds another grave, Ignotus Peveril, marked with that same mysterious symbol. What do you think about this kind of emotionally climactic scene at the graveside? We've met Harry's parents in different forms along the way through memories and mirrors, but now to kind of see where their final resting place is a big thing for an audience.
It is. And what I think I find so, emotionally compelling about that moment for me as an audience member is how quietly Hermione just makes that wreath to put on his grave.
Yeah.
Like, their friendship at a level as strained as it is, as difficult as it's been for both of them, she knows what he needs in that moment that he doesn't even know. You know, and she creates a way for him to honor it without speaking.
Hermione's the best.
She is the best.
And then they notice an old woman in the distance, Bathilda Bagshot. Without a word, she leads them to her house, next door to the Potter's destroyed home, and everything just feels off. Hermione discovers evidence of Rita Skeeter's manipulations, while Harry follows the eerily silent Bathilda upstairs. She begins speaking to him in Parseltongue. Suddenly, Nagini bursts from her body and attacks. As suspected, it was a trap. They fight their way out, barely escaping, but Harry's wand is destroyed in the process. Tell me about your favourite horror elements of this whole sequence.
Well, what I think is so smart about the production design here is this is a movie where pretty much the entire cast is like wizards, witches. This is the first house that feels to me like a truly witch house, the kind of witch house from a Brothers Grimm tale, right?
Yes.
And there's so much sound design here in this sequence and also a little bit earlier on with buzzing flies.
Oh, the flies are so grim.
Yeah.
Like decay, like so much decay in there.
One of the smartest things I ever heard about somebody describing how sound design works is it was about a director who said, I want a scene that's totally quiet. And the sound designer added a buzzing fly. And the director said, what are you doing? I wanted a scene that was totally quiet. And he said, when something is that quiet, you'll hear the fly. It's zen, but it's really unnerving. And it just connotates like filth. It connotates like unease, rotting, death.
Oh, it's so dark. They land in the Forest of Dean, shaken, diminished, one single working wand between them. Hermione pores over Rita Skeeter's book, piecing together Dumbledore's past, while Harry stares into his broken bit of mirror again, looking for answers that seem unlikely to come. Late one evening, while Harry's on watch, a silver doe Patronus appears over a nearby pond. He follows it down to the water's edge, and beneath the ice, Harry spots the sword of Gryffindor. He dives in to retrieve the sword, but the locket tightens around his neck, dragging him violently in the other direction. Harry's trapped beneath the ice, seconds from drowning, when a figure pulls him to safety. Welcome back, Ron Weasley. I do feel like Harry has so much water-related trauma. Literally every time he goes into water, he nearly drowns. It's so... poor Harry. How would he ever get into water ever again after this?
Oh no, what if he never bathes? No. But I love like the sensory here.
Yeah.
Right?
Tell me about
because one thing I'm really always looking for in films is like, can the director shoot a scene in a way where I can imagine myself going inside and what does it feel like? Harry underdressed, standing on ice that is cracking.
Yeah.
That is sensory. Like I remember seeing that in the theater and feeling it, feeling the cold and then going underneath. The darkness, the confusion, the way that they stage it, I feel like you actually are really plunged into his headspace.
Yeah, but thank God for Ron. Arrives just in time. Harry gives Ron the sword and tells him he must be the one to destroy the Horcrux. Ron hesitates as Harry begins to speak Parseltongue at the locket, and it erupts with these visions of Harry and Hermione, entwined, taunting, playing on Ron's worst fears. He pushes through and in one forceful swing of the sword, destroys the locket.
This is one of the most adult, one of the most like animalistic scenes we've seen in the entire franchise. Yeah. Actually, I'll just say it is the most adult, the most animalistic. They're wearing smoke clothing.
Yeah, tell us about those choices, because we have like maybe an association with how Horcruxes might be destroyed. We've seen the diary. We go on to see how the other Horcruxes are destroyed. But what do you think makes this especially powerful visually?
You get this sense of just the gigantic, almost explosive cloud. Like it's large, it's alive, it's bigger than both of them. It feels like it's almost blowing the camera around.
Yeah.
The camera feels unsteady.
Yes.
The camera feels like it's getting blown by winds. Like it's in some sort of almost post-atomic fallout. It's really intimidating. And then the fact that it's not only just fighting with like bigness and scale and power, but that it's fighting with inner emotions and also just core fears. Hundreds of spiders? Like that's just overkill. What?
Yeah, poor Ron. Like the one thing that he's terrified of, spiders. Why is it always the spiders?
Why is it always spiders? Why is it? All coming at him. The audience is definitely getting the shivers in that. So then tell me what it means to you that then Ron is the one to kill the Horcrux.
I think everybody gets attached to a Horcrux in a slightly different way. It sort of latches onto what makes them tick and how to destroy them from the inside. I think Harry understands on like an almost instinctual level that it needs to be Ron because it's the one that speaks to Ron the loudest.
It's almost like an end capper on those thoughts.
Yeah.
Like kill those thoughts.
Yes.
They're not true and you can prove it to yourself by actually ending this Horcrux.
Yeah. Back at camp, Hermione doesn't exactly welcome Ron with jubilant fanfare, though she is secretly very happy to see him. Still hurt from his abandonment, she's going to need a little bit more time. But Ron explains he tried to come back immediately, but couldn't find them because of those damn protective enchantments, until the Deluminated guided him with those little light orbs that flew straight through his heart. Hermione's voice leading him home. All right, Ron, just keep telling her that story. She'll come around. The band is back together. Ron hands Harry a spare wand snatched off a snatcher, and Hermione, still connecting the dots, insists that they visit Xenophilius Lovegood to get more information on the mysterious symbol that they've been seeing everywhere. At his house, Lovegood seems a bit weird, but he's kind of always a bit weird, so the trio doesn't immediately question it. Lovegood explains the Deathly Hallows, the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak, as Hermione reads the tale of the three brothers. Legend says that whoever unites all three becomes the Master of Death. So this is such a clever and beautiful way of telling a story within a story. How do you feel about that generally in film, as a film critic? Because sometimes I find it quite difficult.
I enjoy it when it's definitely a story that you're popping out completely.
Yeah.
And there is something in calling back to like an older type of look, an older type of style that I find really special. Because what I enjoy is one of our windows into this story is just because Dumbledore has given Hermione this book. And she hasn't heard these stories. I love that they're familiar to Ron and not to her.
Yes.
That we understand this difference in how they grew up. Right? And it's almost like we have a scene where Ron is the expert because he knows this story and everybody else has to catch up.
I think it's really I think I was maybe knowing that it was coming, I was slightly dreading the way that they were going to tell it. And I was so pleasantly delighted with the visuals. So we are going to come on to that more a little bit later. But just really quickly, so you have the Elder Wand, which is the most powerful wand in existence. You have the Resurrection Stone, which summons the dead, essentially. And then you have the Invisibility Cloak, which grants perfect invisibility. Given the choice, which one are you going for?
Oh, 1,000% invisibility.
Yeah?
Yeah. Really, come on. To disappear, to hide, to investigate, to snoop, to get to go places after dark.
Snooper.
I'm a Ravenclaw. I like to learn. I could pretend that I'll just be taking the cloak.
How are you turning this into like?
Because I'm going to the library. I'm just going to the library when it closes. That's all. Nothing bad. Don't worry about it. I want to learn things. Being invisible and hiding out is a very good way to do it.
Okay, I will give you that. I know like you are that is the one you're supposed to go for. I still feel like the Elder Wand is so tempting.
You love power.
I do. I do.
I think this fits. You love power. I just want to do what I want to do, and I don't want anybody to bother me.
So then the reason for Xenophilius' twitchiness is revealed. Luna is missing. She's been taken by Death Eaters, and her dad, desperate to get her back, has agreed to hand Harry over to them in exchange for his daughter. Death Eaters swarm and violently attack the house, spells ripping through the walls like bullets. This, again, is talking about action sequences, this is like visceral on another level. This is like a proper shootout. So tell us about the magic that's used, the effects.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like you're watching an old war film, doesn't it? Where, it's World War II, we're in the countryside, and suddenly the bad guys have shown up into this farmhouse where people are hiding out.
Yeah, it's like a Tarantino.
It is sort of like a Tarantino. You feel the isolation of where we are, that nobody is around to help, right? You are just a sitting duck. And to have a betrayal by somebody that you really should have trusted, really should have been able to trust. The fact that the adults, once again, are reminding us through their actions that they're not equipped for this world either.
But you can't blame him either. That's the thing, because of course it's his daughter. He's going to do anything for his daughter, even if it means giving up Harry Potter. I suppose the difference is that we know that Luna would never do anything like that.
No, she's a Ravenclaw.
So the trio escapes just in time, landing in another far-flung forest. Before they can cast protection spells, snatchers descend, and magic ricochets through the trees as they run for their lives. Ron's caught, and Harry and Hermione are cornered. In a quick-thinking move, Hermione hits Harry with a stinging jinx, swelling his face beyond recognition. They may be caught, but at least he doesn't look like Harry Potter. As they're captured, Harry sees one more vision, Voldemort confronting the legendary criminal Grindelwald, who reveals that the most powerful wand in the world, the Elder Wand, lies with Dumbledore in his tomb, confirming that the Hallows are, in fact, real. Harry's vision fades as they're taken by the Snatchers straight to Draco's house. This whole scene there's loads of stuff about the behind the scenes of how competitive they all were about trying to outstrip each other, outrun each other, which is just classic. But what I love is how this is shot, because for me it feels like a zombie movie.
Oh, I love that illusion.
Do you know what I mean? Just because it's coming, because you've got the trees, you've got the forest, the camera angles are so choppy. You don't know where you're coming in from. You don't know whose eyes, you don't know whose perspective you're looking at it from. What do you think about this scene?
Oh, I think that's fantastic. And I think Zombie even kind of picks up on this sense of people look like themselves, but they're not themselves. Who is in a human form that I can't trust?
Yeah.
At Malfoy Manor, Bellatrix Lestrange interrogates them with terrifying delight. Draco does the unthinkable and refuses to confirm that it's Harry. But Bellatrix discovers something far more alarming, the Sword of Gryffindor. Ron and Harry are thrown into the dungeon with Luna, Ollivander and Griphook, the goblin. Hermione's kept upstairs to be tortured into revealing how they got the sword from Bellatrix's vault at Gringotts. What do you think about the torture scene? Because again, like I just feel like this film keeps upping the ante.
Yeah, I mean, Helena Bonham Carter's Bellatrix is probably one of my top 3 performances in this whole franchise, because the way she just enters a room, takes up space, and that she feels completely unhinged. You really can't predict her as an actress in almost anything that she's done, right? So for her to push Hermione down, take up her space, get on top of her, to hear screams from very far away, them listening to the torture, that is rough.
Yeah.
That is rough. And it is also just like, Bellatrix is probably one of the people I would least want to be under the thrall of.
Yeah.
Because I really would never know what she's going to do.
That unpredictability is definitely one of the most exciting things about the character, and also one of the worst things about her character.
Right. Because when you look at her, she's not like giant or scary in the typical ways.
Yeah.
She's just
Demonic.
There's just something cracked in her head. Yeah.
And I do feel like there is an element of Draco's saving grace here, because he does refuse to say, yeah, that's Harry Potter, even though he obviously knows it is. He knows Ron and Hermione. He knows they travel in a pack.
Who would this third person be?
Yeah. Obviously, Ron's betrayal earlier is, we can get over that because he redeems himself. Draco has been so undeniably atrocious and awful all the way through the series. But do you think that this kind of maybe gets him off the hook a tiny bit, that he realizes that he's maybe one of the bad guys?
I mean, I wonder if he's looking at what has evil done to benefit my dad. His dad is looking even worse in this scene than he was at the very beginning.
And he's got like a wine in his hand. He's like turned into like an old drunk in his home now.
Yeah, exactly. You wonder if this is where he thinks like, I'm looking around and nobody on my side seems to have each other's back in the slightest. I don't think he's calculating enough to make the full leap here to good at all. But to have that even little tiny crack.
I mean, I'm Team Draco all the way. My Slytherin prince. As Hermione's blood-curdling screams pierce through the floorboards above, Harry pulls out his shard of mirror and asks for help. And help comes. Simple as. Dobby apparates into the cellar, frees Luna and Ollivander, disarms Wormtail, and returns for Harry and Ron. They make their way upstairs as the manor erupts into battle. Ron disarms Bellatrix, Harry stuns Lucius, Hermione is barely conscious, mudblood carved into her arm. And just as it seems they might not make it out alive, Dobby brings the chandelier crashing down, separating them. So it is kind of clear now that the kids are evenly matched. We keep talking about like the contrast between the adults and the children, but the children, so-called, have now completely stepped up. They can hold their own fully against the Death Eaters. How important is that realization, do you think, at this point, just before we go in to a film that is all about battle?
I mean, I think it's absolutely crucial. Where else is the confidence going to come from? And also the knowledge that nobody else is coming to save you but yourself.
Yeah.
And Dobby.
And Dobby.
Thank
God for Dobby.
Yeah. But it is, again, like an element of like the smallest stepping up.
Yeah.
Right? The underestimated.
Bellatrix targets Dobby with her dagger just as he grabs hold of the trio and disapparates them to safety. They land on the beach at Shell Cottage, but it's too late. Bellatrix's dagger made it through as well, plunged into Dobby's chest. Dobby, simply grateful to be in a beautiful place with his friends, dies in Harry's arms as a free elf, surrounded by those he cared for most. And Harry, as a sign of respect and acknowledgement of his sacrifice, demands that they dig his grave by hand. And as the trio buries Dobby by the sea, Voldemort forges on with his plan, dismantling Dumbledore's tomb and taking control of the Elder Wand. And that is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. Phew! Oh my goodness. So much has happened, so much still to come. We are really at the beginning of the end now.
I have to ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
Do you have a favorite performance in this whole film?
I mean, so many. But I think there's a scene stealer, and I feel like I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about him. And it's Scabia, who is one of the Snatchers, and we see him multiple times throughout this film and a bit in the final battle. He's the one that's kind of going almost like toe to toe with Neville, and I just think he's so creepy and weird and evil, and he has like this great like scarf loosh thing going on. He has like eyeliner. He's like styled in a really interesting way. He's played by Nick Moran, who is another, like Peter Mullen, and is another really great British character actor. Again, just I think having so much fun with a role, because he kind of camps it up a little bit as well. So yeah, it's a great scene stealer.
Hold on, okay? We'll fix you. Hermione, have something in your bag. Hermione? Hermione? Help me!
Such a beautiful place to be with friends. Dobby is happy to be with his friend.
Over the course of the series, Dobby evolves from comic relief to a very courageous martyr, and we are required to discuss how Dobby's journey transforms him from a side character into a symbol of unwavering love and loyalty. So tell us about this scene, what it means for you.
I mean, this scene means a few things. Like, one, just even look at Dobby's character himself, who did show up as sort of like a punchline, a goofball character. His ability to step up and be brave, even in the micro gestures and the animation of his face, he's trying to be brave, right? It's like trying to have the dignity and the gravitas of this moment. He's got big emotions inside that small body. Is it the British stiff upper lip? He's got a little touch of that, right?
Yeah, probably.
There's dignity here.
Yeah.
Massive dignity.
And also a choice, I suppose. I think what's really vital is that he doesn't just feel like a victim randomly killed. You know, he died doing something. He knew that he was fighting for something, and he was willing to put himself in that firing line.
Exactly. A choice. That's a really good way of phrasing it, that it wasn't just happenstance or you're the guy who does all the work that nobody else wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, this scene, it gives us a chance, I think, at the end of this entire film to stop and sit with a character that we've cared about this entire time and have that moment of mourning that the film hasn't had a second to pause for.
I remember being so devastated the very first time I saw it. And I don't think it's ever really lost its emotions for like both readers of the book and viewers of the film, because we do feel like we've gone on such a journey with him. Because when we first met him, yes, he was the comedic relief. He was also, he kind of was doing everything a bit wrong. He was just doing it very badly and in like very silly ways. And, you know, again, Harry was 12, 13 at this point. The stakes were kind of less, perhaps. But now he's stepping in. He's grown as much as Harry has, really. He knows what it's like to live as a free elf. He knows what it's like to have his own rights. And the fact that he's still choosing to turn up for Harry Potter, and the fact that he really does save his life properly this time, I just feel like the payoff of having that from the Chamber of Secrets all the way to now is so huge. And he's like, they really play the long game with him as a character.
They really do. And I love that, you know, we have a new composer here, Alexandre Desplat. He's new to the franchise now, but he's still grabbing pieces of John Williams' old score, using it as callbacks, weaving it in, playing that original theme here, slow, sad, making it mournful. And I think, it's a stand-in for gigantic emotions that have been happening in this film, to have Dobby represent everything.
Why do you think they chose to split the story of the Deathly Hallows here? Why do you think this was the end of part one?
Well, one of the theories I kind of sit with it is to leave on an element of loss of a character that you've known this long is that moment of, well, what can happen next? What more can you do? What more can be taken away from me? I feel like it's a stand-in for all of the loss that we've had in this entire movie. This movie has been nothing but people dying. And now we finally have a chance to mourn. Like we haven't had that chance yet. And isn't it, it's beautiful in a way. It's peaceful and sad. I think we finally have a chance at the ending to like let out all of those emotions.
It's like what you were talking about earlier with the chance to take a breath with the camping scene, where we didn't have a chance to grieve Hedwig or Mad Eye, or even like the kind of near near death that we have. This is that time. This is the breath. This is for all of them. You're right.
You know, I think if there is really an overall theme in this installment in particular, I kind of feel like Dobby's death and this funeral that they're preparing for almost echoes all the way back to like the ritual of the beginning of having a wedding. You know, finding these moments to honor the life that the people have lived while they're here, either in joy or in sadness, somehow as community.
Beautiful way of looking at it.
Right. Because this is always, I think, the question that comes up in these films is, well, if we're fighting for our life to come back, what is that about that life that makes it special? You know, what is it about community and joy and hope and happiness? Like, I think we have to be reminded all of the time of why is a sacrifice even worth it?
It's not just for Harry anymore, is it? It's for the future. In the same way that Harry's parents, they didn't just die for him, they died for the future of the wizarding world. It's owl pose time, which I love. It's one of my favourite sections. So an owl has arrived from a fellow Potter fan. What do you think of this? This is a hot take from Christina F. in Mount Kisco, New York. Hot take, the Oh Children dance scene is the most important scene in Deathly Hallows Part 1. Not the ministry break-in, not Godric's Hollow, this quiet, awkward, heartbreaking dance. Harry and Hermione are teenagers who have lost almost everything. Ron is gone, the locket is poisoning them, Hermione has erased herself from her parents' lives. They're exhausted, terrified, and basically one bad thought away from giving up. And then Harry gives Hermione one song, one tiny pocket of joy in the middle of a war. He lets her take off the locket, steps away from the mission, and chooses his friend over the greater good for 3 minutes. This is not a filler scene. That's the whole point. What do you think about the Oh Children dance scene in the tent?
I mean, I love it. Starting with even that moment of just intimacy, of him coming behind her and taking off that necklace. There's such closeness there. I think it's beautiful because it's mostly wordless. You know what's happening in the song, and yet you're going through all of these emotions. And I like how the way that they dance, they're not dancing, you know, posh,
Formally, like at the Yule Ball,
They're awkward about it,
They
right?
are so awkward.
Yeah, and yet they're going from stiff to smiling to sad.
Yeah.
They go through this whole arc of emotion,
So
realizing what they
cathartic,
lost.
isn't it?
Yeah. And the camera's kind of tricking you too, because it's almost framing them like they're going to kiss. Right?
A little bit. I was going to ask you,
bit.
do you think it's romantic in any way? Because I know people are really divided over this scene.
I don't think I find it romantic necessarily, but I do wonder if there could be a touch of, should we have considered this? And then maybe not.
Yeah.
Right?
Potentially. I don't think it is romantic either, actually. And I'm really glad that Christina picks up on this. That is one of the very few times that Harry does something for Hermione. Just in any capacity. He does something and it is for her rather than for him.
I think that's really true. And I wonder at what point the dance becomes so sad to her. Because I think she's the one who crumples first.
Yeah. I guess she is never not thinking about Ron. You know, she'd be thinking, you know, if Ron was here, I should be dancing with Ron, maybe. And that's what makes it not romantic. It's Nick Cave, who is such a beautiful singer anyway. But the fact that we don't get any like needle drop songs in the whole of the Harry Potter series. This is the only one where everything stops for the song. I mean, what is the weight of that in an 8-film franchise?
Right. And have this excuse of like, well, it's coming through the radio, so therefore we have a reason to be bringing it in. I mean, Nick Cave, he as a pop singer is just somebody who almost has the biography of like loss and grief, and you hear it in his voice. But it has the right tone, and for it to be a song about like loss, youth, innocence.
Yeah. I mean, the lyrics of the song are about a generation inheriting the troubles of their elders, which is everything to do with Harry Potter. So it is the perfect song, really. Christina, thank you so much. What a great hot take. And we both completely agree with you. We do want to hear from everyone. So keep an eye on our socials at Harry Potter for your chance to send in your favourite moments, your burning questions, and of course, your hottest takes.
There were once 3 brothers who were travelling along a lonely, winding road at twilight. In time, the brothers reached a river too treacherous to pass. But being learned in the magical arts, the 3 brothers simply waved their wands and made a bridge. Before they could cross, however, they found their path blocked by a hooded figure. It was death, and he felt cheated.
So this film features a really key element that essentially sidesteps what we've typically come to expect from the Harry Potter series. So I want to talk about the choice to make the tale of the three brothers an animated sequence. Why do you think that the filmmakers chose to just completely visually break away from live action and integrate it in this quite untraditional way?
Yeah, right, because it's not even just animated, it's untraditionally animated. It's animated in a way that sort of harkens back to the very first animated films ever made, kind of shadow puppets and light and long, skinny, spindly figures who look unreal. I like that because you can put your imagination in those scenes. If you were showing a flashback, right? If you were seeing faces of real people, it takes away a lot of the mystery. It feels less mythic, less epic.
I feel like there's life before the tale of three brothers and a life after. And it feels like once you've heard that story, it just feels like, oh, that's part of the legends that we've always been told. And I think that's what's so clever about it. It's the simplicity. So where does the inspiration for this come from?
Oh, it comes from a very, very signature famous landmark film, the 1926 first feature-length animated movie ever made. It's fantastic. It's by a female artist from Germany. Her name was Lottie Reininger. It's called The Adventures of Prince Ahmed. And she worked in that sort of monocolor, like white and primary color, white and dark, I would say like shadow puppet style animation, where it's like unreal, articulated limbs, except he goes a little bit different with that. He starts with this nod, really, oh, I know what you're referencing. But then he immediately takes it dimensional and starts spinning the camera around to show that he's doing it in a 3D way. And to tell the story in this way, you almost get a sense of people being told this story like a century ago and how they would have told it in the same way when you do an old style like that.
Now, luckily, I had the opportunity to sit down with the magic maker who was behind this incredible sequence, animator Ben Hibon. So let's see what he had to say. Ben Hibon, welcome to the official Harry Potter podcast. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Oh, it's really, really lovely to be here after all this time. It is wonderful to be thinking about all of this again and being able to discuss it with you. So thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have this opportunity to talk to you because I remember going to the cinema and being quite nervous about like how they were going to do the tale of the three brothers. Even kind of taking a little break from the rest of the story, a little moment within a narrative, how that was going to work, visually, what it was going to look like, and then being so thrilled at the outcome. It is extraordinary. So because it's so unlike anything else in the rest of the film, what were the initial creative conversations that you were having about how this sequence should look and feel?
I think initially the story within a story and also the idea of telling a tale within a world that has already so much magic and so much wonder and so much layer of history. That's where most of the challenge came initially when we discussed that sequence. When I first met with David Heyman and Stuart Craig, we exchanged ideas and taste and things we liked and things that would excite us, very broadly, really. So it was more about sensibility and tone, really. And I remember meeting with Stuart, and he had a photocopy of Lotte Reininger's, a couple of frames. This really was kind of like the first idea. I mean, he kind of like came up with that more stylized, approach, really, which I then kind of came later and brought more to it. But I think that initially this idea of like going more simple and take a step back, was certainly the right call and a brilliant idea from him.
You mentioned Lotte Reininger's, is it the Adventures of Prince Ahmed?
Yes.
And it's that shadow puppet silhouette style. Was that anything that you'd worked in before, or was that a new way of working for you?
No, it was certainly a new way to work. A lot of my previous work had been very visual in a way that they were not led by dialogue or necessarily music, but very much so about, it was just visual storytelling, just driven by camera movement, performance, poses, things that were kind of like more of an illustrative quality, maybe. And they, in and of themselves, try to kind of describe and try to tell the story first, and then music and dialogue second, at least to that point. So as much as I was not necessarily familiar with Luther Renninger's work, nor had done kind of like a similar technique, I think that was certainly a sensibility that was akin and that was aligned there.
I love what you've done with death in The Tale of the Three Brothers, because it's he's this ancient figure, but he also has empathy as well. So can you tell me about like creating the look of him, the eyes, because we see these pinpricks as well as the camera fades out. He's always watching, he's searching, he's kind of physically so imposing, but we learn at the end that he's also an equal to a man, which and all of that is so expressed in his face.
Death was, in my mind, it was always a trickster figure. You know, it was rather than a conventional villain, we wanted to have an elegance to him, to be very fluid and very ceremonial about his gestures. At the end of the day, he's in control of the moment. He's not chasing after the brothers. He waits. In the way we kind of design these characters, and Death in particular, is we wanted them to feel very puppet-like, sharp and angular, but incredibly rich and detailed in their outlines, and that's something that Death in particular, thinking about, the face or the cloak, being very, very, very fluid and almost underwater-like in its animation. It has a very striking look at first. It's very easy to decipher who these characters are just by their gesture or their silhouettes. But there's constant additional detail and flavors and textures that come through as they reveal themselves through the scene. So it's very much about the showing and the not showing. You feel it, I think, So the eye are barely visible because it is so restrained and it is so stylized in some ways. And we're only showing so much. There's so much space for imagination.
Another motif is the kind of feathers and birds. And again, that's not in the verbal storytelling, but it's very much in the visuals. So where did that come from? Why was that so central to the way that you told it?
There's a timelessness about it. There's also I guess it is about the flow of the piece and the striking presence of this kind of like darker birds overwatching and all seeing. I don't know, there is something haunting about it. It was a nice bookend really to the sequence. It allowed us to go into the sequence in a really seamless, beautiful way with the feathers that fall. That one little thing that just starts this great tale that just kind of like is floating away on this river and could be told to many, many others, right? There's just all this kind of mythology, all this, I don't know, it's just drama. It feels right, particularly also at the end, with the wings, Death taking away the third brother and all the birds in the tree following. So there's a whole thematic with that. That was the nice, there's Buchanan, just a very strong visual.
Yeah, I love it because it feels, one lonely feather at the beginning turning into a whole flock. Actually, there is something really comforting in that.
Yes.
When we're talking about an ancient quality, it does feel like the colour of parchment or something like that. So how did you land on the colour palette when you're not really using that many colours to tell this story?
Well, parchment, of course, old parchments, old paper, this kind of candle-lit translucence, so if you put a candle, behind a paper, or you get the texture and you get that kind of very yellow coloring. And so that's where we lean towards sepia. But it's also old photography, not only very early photography and dark chambers, but also photographs that are losing their contrast. Yeah. And we always kind of like that, always lean towards things that are again bleached by the sun, always lean towards this warmer, redder, yellower tones. It is certainly scrolls and parchments, things like that, but it's also about the feeling of time passing and things being affected by time, and the way we vignette the shots, the way we pulsating the lights to give it a life, the way that grain is creating this fog of war. You can only see so far. So things fall into decay, into abstractions, fall into nothingness. This is our way to rag folk, or to use depth of field, for example. So we use that. We use different elements to emulate cinematic or camera artifacts. And so it's a lot of these different things. But I think the palette is definitely to give this sense of time passing.
And finally, when you were working on Harry Potter, is there anything that you brought from that film onwards into the work you've done since, the animations that you've worked on? Anything that you still think of as from that time?
There's a real beauty in the simplicity of it, which I have struggled to find or to replicate, but just because of the nature of the project. And I think that's something that is very special about this project for me, is that not only it is part of this incredible series of film and books and artists all over creating this formidable series. And I think that you don't plan for it. You hope the fans are going to embrace it and understand it and roll with it, as they have with all the movies. And so that has been really, really special. The coming of all of these things together and to this day really being seen as something of value and additive to the movies, for sure.
Ben Hibon, thank you so much for joining us on the official Harry Potter podcast. Such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for bringing us such a beautiful animation in the Deathly Hallows.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Amy, it is time for some trivia. Are you ready?
No, but yes, let's do this.
Yay, I love the enthusiasm. Okay, what happens to Ron immediately after he abandons the campsite? Is it A, he's attacked by snatchers? Is it B, he goes home to the burrow? Or is it C, he tries to return to camp but can't find them?
C, he tries to return to camp but can't find them.
Correct. Ding, ding, ding. Well done. 5 points to Ravenclaw. This is an easy one. Which song do Harry and Hermione dance to in the tent?
Nick Cave. About sad children and generations.
I'm going to give it to you. Yes. Oh, Children.
Oh, children. Oh, children. Sad children.
Sad
children.
Sad children. They are. I mean, they literally are sad children. Very good. Where are Harry and Hermione camped when he finds the sword? Is it A, the Highlands? Is it B, the Fell of Latterbarrow? Or is it C, the Forest of Dean?
I'm going to go with C, the Forest of Dean.
Correct. Well done.
I love it.
I mean, you got those all right.
I have not disgraced my Ravenclaw family.
Oh my goodness, 50 points. Well done, Amy. Congrats.
Thank you.
Now, if any of you out there want to try your hand at a bit of trivia, then head to harrypotter.com/quiz to test your knowledge. Amy, the trolleys arrived. I know this is the bit that you've been waiting for the most, Amy. I am going to reward your hottest take or a strange theory that you have or any burning question with a very sweet treat from our trolley. What have you got for me?
Well, I'm very excited to dig into this trolley.
I know, your shoulders are like up by your ears. You're like buzzing with anticipation.
Oh, yes, this is my dream. This is my dream. And for that, I will admit a thing that I sometimes feel a little embarrassed about. I held on to the theory for the longest time that the Harry Potter series would end with the revelation that Harry Potter was fine, but actually Neville Longbottom was the chosen one and he would save everybody. I couldn't let that go. I really was like holding on to that theory from like, I think the second film. And here he stands up. He's like, you losers.
Yeah.
Like, that's my boy. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like even finishing the books, I still couldn't let go of the idea. I still in my heart, that's what happens.
How did you feel when you realized that theory wasn't necessarily correct?
I felt like I wasn't as smart as I thought I was.
Did you feel tricked?
I did. At least Neville gets to grow up and be like the tallest and have the coolest sweaters. But still, like a little part of my soul still thinks of him as the chosen one and just nobody noticed.
But he did do something incredible. Like he did have his Horcrux moment the same way that I guess Hermione and Ron also did.
I guess there's a little bit of me that's always going for the underdog. And so the fact that Harry comes into school, everybody knows him, everybody's cool. Neville, whatever.
Yeah.
I wanted this to end with like, we have all been wrong. Look at that guy. Neville's important.
Can you imagine like the bait and switch, the uproar though, if it had been Neville after like investing in 7 books and 8 films, that it was really Neville's story all along and we just hadn't realized or noticed? You'd have
Yes.
been like, I noticed.
I would have felt so smart. Well, I could have told you guys all along if you'd just been paying attention.
I guess the point is that he could have been, but Voldemort was the one, even though it was prophesized, he made that choice to make it Harry, essentially. He could have gone after Neville and Neville's parents, but he went after Harry and Harry's parents.
I mean, maybe he didn't know go after Neville just because he knew Neville would actually grow up pretty tall. There must be a spell for glow up.
I'm sure. I feel like Hermione did it for the Yule Ball. I really enjoy you sort of admitting that you were wrong, which as a fellow film critic is very hard to do sometimes when you're really invested in a theory.
I think it's why I actually have a problem with fan theories of movies. I don't want to get attached to my idea because I was very attached to that one, way too attached to that idea.
You're like, never again. What would you like from the trolley?
I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm going to go with the peppermint toads.
I think that's the best choice you could have made, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, they are my hands down my favorite.
I'm really excited. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Now, I will say that I read this theory online a long time ago, but it's never really left me. And this is the idea that the Peverell brothers are represented in modern day by Voldemort, Snape, and Harry. So Voldemort is, of course, the elder brother, the one who is going after the Elder Wand. He is all about the death and destruction. And then you have Snape, who is still yearning for his lost love and would probably give anything to have her back. So he is kind of represented by the middle brother, the Stone of Resurrection. And then Harry, the Cloak of Invisibility, he's the one who is just trying to make it through. He's dodged death so many times, and he kind of gets to the end and he's very willing to kind of walk through the veil to the other side as long as he's doing it for the right reasons. What do you think of that theory?
I like it because even if you're wrong, I think you're at
So
least speaking to
diplomatic.
something true about archetypes and kind of repeated personalities throughout history.
Yeah.
Right? Because that is a legendary response that people would have generation after generation. We do make the same mistakes.
Yeah. We do also always need those heroes and villains, don't we? To kind of make sense of why we're here, why we make the choices we do, the spectrum that we exist within. And I feel like Voldemort, Harry, and Snape in the middle are all along the same spectrum. I'm going to go for something that I've never tried before, which are these tins of sweets. And I think the Slytherin one is up here. These are green apple jelly beans. See, this is what Draco would go for. He loves his green apples, and he's a Slytherin.
You just took those because you want Draco to hang out with you.
I do really want Draco to hang out with me. Yeah, I feel like I could fix him.
You could at least bribe him. Be
I could
nicer.
bribe him
Be nicer.
with some
Be
green
nicer.
apple jelly beans. Amy, thank you so much for your hot takes. Trolley, you've done your job. You can leave now. Thank you. So that's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, a film that starts with a family wedding and ends with the funeral of a dear friend. Amy, thank you for joining me on our hunt for Horcruxes.
It is a pleasure. We're not done.
Up next in our series, Amy and I continue on to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. We find Harry, Ron and Hermione preparing for an epic bank heist as they continue to track down Horcruxes. Join us on our film-by-film look back through the series as we rewatch every Harry Potter movie on HBO Max. In the meantime, we want to hear from you. Share your thoughts and keep up with the latest from us on social media at Harry Potter. As we make our way through the films, we'll be checking the comments to dissect your burning questions and your hottest takes. Until then, try and avoid any dragons. And if you need to blow anything up, just ask Seamus. Bye, see you next time.
There is a sword in Madame Lestrange's vault, identical to this one, but it is a fake. It was placed there this past summer.
And she never suspected it was a fake.
The replica is very convincing. Only a goblin would recognize that this is the true sword of Gryffindor.
Who's the acquaintance?
A Hogwarts professor. As I understand it, he's now headmaster.
Snape? He put a fake sword in Bellatrix's vault. Why?
There are more than a few curious things in the vaults at Gringotts.
Harry Potter, the official film podcast, is produced by HBO Max in partnership with Pod People. This podcast is hosted by me, Rhianna Dhillon. Our head writer and lead producer is Angela Palladino, and our associate producer is Emily Mansfield. Our line producer and production manager is Hannah Pedersen, casting by Brianna Frapart. Production design done by Liz Klakowski and her team Kevin Fallon, Marcel Banks, Jeff Cross and Amelia Caceres. Our technical director is In-Sung Huang, along with camera operator Nick Gregorio. Our studio audio engineer is Frank Galvan. Hair and makeup by Ali Elizabeth. Production assistance by Cameron Robson. Our video editor is Susanna Vasquez, and the show is mixed by Carter Wogan and Marina Pais. From the HBO Max podcast team, Alison Cohen-Sorokach, Michael Gluckstadt, Becky Rowe, Kenya Reyes, and Erin Kelly. Special thanks to Emily Brandon and Reese Allgood from the Harry Potter digital team. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.